NBA 2K. It's the best-selling basketball series and one of the top-selling game franchises to this day, sitting alone as the most popular sports video game played in the US, above Madden, MLB The Show, and FIFA. Over the years, the series has faced growing criticisms as annual releases struggle to differentiate from earlier titles. It can also be attributed to the rising and manufactured dependency on virtual currency, known as VC. The franchise's currency used to upgrade created players, unlock different animations, and purchase cosmetics. VC can be purchased as microtransactions, and has created a pay-to-win system that separates players who choose to grind the in-game progression to level up from the players who pay up to hundreds of dollars to max out their character off the bat. The first release of the series came in 1999 with NBA 2K, with new titles released each year since. The series was initially competing against the NBA Live series that debuted in 1994. However, their last title came in 2018 with NBA Live 19, as 2K's performance continued to dominate the genre. Early in the 2K franchise's life, almost each release featured clear improvements in graphics, mechanics, and available features. The franchise really caught its stride around the release of NBA 2K 11 or 12, with each game released refining and enhancing the prior version. This period of improvement can mostly be found in the window of 2K11 to 2K16, and longtime fans of the franchise likely found their favourite game in the series in this pool. Now, the NBA 2K franchise has been the top dog in the basketball video game space for some time. So if you've been a gamer and a basketball fan at any point in the 2010s and onward, you've likely had some experience playing the series over the years. It may not be obvious if you haven't had that much playing time on 2K, but for a long time, each title provided a range of much-needed improvements and a unique feel that separated it from its predecessor. However, it's generally accepted that these improvements have become few and far between, and each new title struggles to differentiate due to a lack of noticeable gameplay and graphical updates. In this section of the video, we'll take a look at some direct comparisons of gameplay between 2K titles, comparing the graphics, controls, feel, and core mechanics, and take a look at what the public reception was at this time. NBA 2K12 is a game that I've gone back to play quite frequently on my mate's PS3. And to be honest, I've probably had some of the most fun of any 2K casually playing it. Obviously, newer games have updated graphics and improved physics and controls, but 2K12 feels like a perfect representation of basketball for the time. The progression is based on skill points, which you get by playing games and drills, and the soundtrack is perfectly complementary to the overall aesthetic. I wasn't into basketball, let alone the 2K franchise in 2011. However, reception online paints the picture that 2K12 was a fine game, but 2K11 left big shoes for it to fill, and the following 2K13 featured many improvements. So when looking back, 2K12 is bookended by two much-loved games that leave it in the shadows. Regardless, many glowing reviews were made, acknowledging the tougher defense with more control of aspects like shot fakes and footwork to beat this defense, as well as the overall presentation such as the commentary and soundtrack that the community unanimously praises. NBA 2K18 was in a similar position to 2K12. Following the releases of both 2K16 and 2K17, expectations were high for the next installment. 2K18 saw great success in terms of sales, but may have been the tipping point for players' frustrations regarding microtransactions. Following 2K13's switch to VC, each release would subtly push this currency more and more, but mostly managed to keep a balance, meaning in-game progression was still viable. As reviews state, 2K18 broke this balance. The progression is notably slower. Your My Career player starts at a 60 overall rating, with the price to get to only 85 overall being around 200,000 VC, and each game earning you around 1,000 VC, and even less in your first years in the league. However, reviews couldn't help but acknowledge that at its core, 2K18 is a good basketball game. The player models were great, the movement was smooth, and the playing experience was overall enjoyable, but with more emphasis on the newly added neighborhood, a hub connecting all the stores, park modes, and other online competition. The VC push was apparent. Accessories themselves cost hundreds to thousands of VC, and playing higher level opposition online further reduces your VC earnings, given it results in a loss. This emphasizes a pay-to-win system resembling that of free-to-play mobile games, and creates a clear advantage for those able to spend real money to get ahead of competition. NBA 2K26 is the most recent title of the franchise, released on the 5th of September 2025. I haven't got my hands on the game since I gave 2K my money the past few years, but have spent less and less time playing each year. The initial reviews I saw online were mostly positive, with many comments even saying that 2K is back. However, there's always a loyal or rather optimistic crowd ready for each new 2K to be the best, so I took this with a grain of salt. Now that players have had some time with the game, there are once again many mixed reviews with some strong disdain against the arcade-style gameplay. Players have voiced their concerns with the current game's meta, focusing on shots like difficult fading three-pointers. Players rightfully argue that this hinders the variety of viable playstyles, specifically in online PvP modes. This also hurts the teamwork aspect of the game, which is such a central part of the sport, and discourages players as it moves away from the beautiful game of basketball that they play, watch, and fell in love with. Once again, despite the criticisms, the game improves in many ways, with satisfying dribbling and improvements to shooting mechanics, as well as the presentation such as crowd environment, graphics and commentary that seems to be the franchise's one constant. Now I want to take a look at some of the changes between games throughout the franchise's life, in order to get a grasp on how much each title actually differs. Obviously, with the advances in technology, early titles are completely blown out of the water in terms of graphics and player movement, so it's important to remember the game's quality relative to their time. First, we'll go all the way back to NBA 2K1, which built on the foundation of the original 2K with vital improvements and added modes including Street Ball, online multiplayer, as well as franchise mode, which lives on today through MyNBA and MyGM. After years of similar steady polishing, 2K9 marks the first official release under Take-Two Interactive, now parent company of 2K Sports and 2K Games, who remains the franchise's publishers to this day. With 2K10 came the introduction of the MyPlayer mode, the early version of MyCareer. The mode was simple but laid the groundwork for what has become the franchise's cornerstone game mode. 2K10 to 2K12 saw more steady improvement, with smoother dribbling, better rebounding, and more realistic footwork, all aligning the game closer with the sport. 2K13 brought a major shift, introducing virtual currency in the place of skill points, allowing quick progression through microtransactions. Additionally, it added signature skills, which have since been evolved into today's badge system. 2K14 debuted the Pro Stick, offering players more control over dribbling, shooting, and passing with the right analog stick. A year later, 2K15 brought us the shot meter, a clearer visual for timing a shot. Releasing the shot in the green window guarantees an excellent release and a made bucket. It also overhauled attribute progression, grouping attributes together to avoid maxing out a specific skill too early, a feature that hasn't stuck. A feature that has stuck was the badge system, reworking signature skills. 2K16 expanded the MyCareer mode, with a storyline directed by Spike Lee, along with improved gameplay physics. 2K17 followed the success of 16, refining visuals and dribbling responsiveness. 2K18 gave us new motion systems, along with the neighborhood which combined in-game stores and online aspects of MyCareer into one hub. 2K19 added the takeover ability. 2K20 revamped MyGM while also adding the WNBA, and 2K21 debuted the W, a MyCareer mode for the WNBA, as well as an aiming aspect to shot timing that hasn't stuck. 2K22 updated the shot meter to be more dynamic based on circumstances in the game, along with an updated stamina system, faster and tighter dribbling, overhauled defensive AI, and timing in order to finish an alley-oop. 2K23 slowed the pace down for more realism and introduced core badges. 2K24 pushed realism further with pro play technology, basing animations on real NBA footage, and buffed certain shot types for scoring variety. 2K25 introduced rhythm shooting, an agility attribute, and cap breakers that allow upgrades to attributes beyond the hard cap. Finally, 2K26 revamped rhythm shooting, added a green window to rebound timing, and an updated collision system. So as you may have noticed, there was a distinct period of innovation leading up to NBA 2K16, with 2K16 and 2K17 presenting the franchise's developments with more focus on storytelling, refined physics, and upgraded visuals. From this point forward, changes were small and sometimes insignificant, with the graphics only being able to improve via little tweaks to things like sweat and lighting. Developers felt the pressure to continue innovation. However, as we look back, it's clear that despite quality of life updates like smoother dribbling or updated defense levels, 2K's ultimate goal is to give players a reason to purchase microtransactions. Hidden behind these improvements came changes to progression, including what rating you had as a rookie, how much it costs to increase one overall rating, and how much VC you get paid per game. Now you add the neighborhood feature, which has been expanded to the city, and it's like you're playing in a digital mall that happens to have basketball courts. Each store features items that require multiple games worth of VC, and if you want to play online competition without an upgraded player, you're likely to have your fun ruined by someone rated 99 overall. All of this encourages microtransactions as a normal part of the game's mechanics, due to the sheer size of the grind at hand without them. Despite this obvious push of microtransactions, the franchise maintained steady growth into the 2020s, with sales peaking at 14 million for the release of 2K20. Although the following titles saw slight dips in sales, the total hasn't fallen below 7 million, a figure first achieved with 2K14. These sales don't indicate revenue, however, since microtransactions have become such a crucial aspect and a top earner for the publishers. The sport of basketball is growing in general, video games included, but even though there is still a huge market for 2K, they currently have probably the worst reputation of the franchise's life. Industry reviews don't reflect this, but actual players proudly share their disappointment at what the franchise is becoming and love to reminisce on the old titles. And I haven't yet mentioned how 2K closes their old servers following new titles. This isn't uncommon for live service games, but in this instance, it means the My Career mode can't even be accessed for games after 2K14. So if you want to play out your fictional career, at some point you'll have to purchase a new game. I love basketball, and I wish I loved 2K. I don't think 2K will have some big dent in their player base, as basketball is only getting bigger, but it can't be ignored how the franchise is moving from a simulation game to an arcadey lifestyle game, where you're a rapper or a model that has to purchase the hottest real-life clothing in-game to fit in. Oh, and you happen to be in the NBA. 2K is losing the essence of basketball. You can't simply put yourself into an NBA career and freely play out that career without feeling the effects of the ridiculous grind just to get good enough to make a shot, or the cheesy, unguardable isolation ball if you go online. 2K isn't dead, but its relationship to real basketball might as well be.